Let's talk about a counterintuitive growth mindset. So this is something I learned, especially working in bootstrap companies, is really how to think about growth in a different way. So Winning by Design, great company that does B2B consulting for a lot of large B2B companies and SaaS companies, learned a lot from them. They have this great concept, which is to achieve reoccurring revenue, companies must deliver reoccurring impact to their customers. So in other words, if you want customers to continue to pay you, you need to continue to provide value, right? It seems like a simple concept, but I love how they phrase that, right? And especially for reoccurring businesses. If you're in B2B and you're in reoccurring business, SaaS or service, to achieve recurring revenue, you have to have that reoccurring impact, right? So it's a baseline. So what I propose is that what if we provided impact before the prospect became a customer? So I'm gonna stop there for a second. Let us all digest that. Essentially, the concept is before they start paying you and before they expect impact, what if we gave them the impact before they became a customer? So product-led growth, right? Like self-service, free trials, it's kind of that similar concept too, right? Where before they even enter their credit card, before they pay you, they start receiving value from the product, right? They start getting impact and you build that trust with them. Well, I am saying from a marketing standpoint, from a sales standpoint, from a growth standpoint, what if we gave them impact, actually helped them solve a problem before they became a customer? So this can be through content. This can be through consultative selling, right? Consulting when you're meeting with a salesperson. We'll talk about a bunch of situations here, but this concept right here has changed the way I do marketing and sales because it ultimately looks to serve folks before they ever, become a customer, and you build rapport, loyalty. We'll unpack it here as well. So this is that kind of new mindset and I've coined this term selfless advantage. So and we'll kind of unpack what does selfless advantage mean, but really it comes down to the golden rule, right? Jesus of Nazareth said, just as you want others to do to you, do the same for them, right? And it's that golden rule of really showing empathy, but going one step further to that. And here's this definition that I think can be helpful for us. So selfless advantage is a growth mindset where you use selfless empathy. So let's unpack selfless empathy for a second. Selfless, right, is the definition of it. You go look it up, is basically not being selfish, right? Putting other people's interests before your own. And empathy is putting yourselves in the other people's shoes. I will argue that the best marketers and sellers out there are super empathetic. The problem with it is, if you're just empathetic, guess who else are just empathetic? And they use it to manipulate? Psychopaths, cyber criminals. Really successful criminals in general are very empathetic. They put themselves in the shoes of their customers. So a way to take it one step further is I'm advocating that we should be empathetic, but we should also be selfless in that. And so when we put ourselves, it's a superpower to be empathetic. It's a superpower to put yourselves in the shoes of somebody else, right? You gain an advantage on them where you can see the needs they have, and you can kind of point them and mold them in the direction you want to go because you're putting themselves in their shoes. What I'm advocating for is that marketers and sellers and go-to-market in general, marketing in general, should be selfless with that. So we have that superpower, right? We put ourselves in their shoes, we figure out what the needs they are, and then we provide an impact and serve your prospects without expectation. So this is really hard. And even, I don't think it's impossible to be 100% this direction, but I think in general, I don't know about you all, but I don't have a problem being selfish. I have a problem being selfless when it comes to marketing, when it comes to sales, just life in general. So balancing it out a little bit, right? Where instead of just my criteria is what's in it for me, how can we actually serve folks and what's in it for them and everyone winning, right? Obviously we have a business to build. We have profits to make. We have bottom line profits and all that fun stuff. But I will argue, and I've seen it time and time again, especially from marketing, that if you overweight on the selfless, you gain all the profits, you gain the best customers, and you win in the end too. So I don't think I've never given too much and it's harmed my profits. Or harmed my growth. It's always only benefited us. And ultimately it builds that rapport, right? In turn, you build rapport and trust with your ideal customers. And this go-to-market mindset, it's when your organization, when your go-to-market strategy becomes your organization's first product, it becomes a product in and of itself. Your sales, your marketing, everything you do becomes a product where you're actually, once again, delivering impact before they become a customer, right? And if you can do that, it unlocks the most efficient growth you'll ever have. And it also is super rewarding because you can serve people, you can help people, right? You can help way more people, number one, which is super rewarding, but it also helps yourself in the long run. I do think, though, I will caution everyone that ultimately you have to do it without that expectation. Because the minute you're like, oh, I'm gonna, squeeze my pitch in there or whatever, and not to say you shouldn't sell or you shouldn't position your product or you shouldn't ask for the deal or whatever, but the minute you kind of try to manipulate the process of actually helping somebody, you take the life out of this whole mindset. So what's interesting about this is really interesting is that this can actually be your competitive advantage. So I was at this company called 𝗦𝗲𝗹𝗃𝗀𝗃. They're an MSP, managed service provider. There's hundreds of thousands of them out there. Honestly, we had a typical product service that everyone else had. We weren't that differentiated. I tried to work on that as a marketer, as a side note, and tried to make our product more unique and try to work with the product team and the service team. How do we make our product more unique so that when we go to market, we're more differentiated? But it was a struggle because of just the evolution of the business. And so I had to work with what I had. And what I had was a very commoditized product. There's thousands of people out there doing it. And so what I had to figure out is, how do I outmarket everyone else? I didn't have the budgets to do it. So I didn't have the budgets and I didn't have the differentiated product. So I actually had to do better marketing. And so what I did was did tons of webinars, did a podcast, did blogging, gave as much content as possible, actually solving a problem, right? Versus, ultimately all the other forms of marketing. And it worked. It was incredible. We were able to achieve incredible marketing efficiency and incredible growth and get great customers and grow even in a hyper-competitive, hyper-commoditized product. So it was amazing, and it completely changed how I view marketing and sales and growth. So let's talk about a couple other examples here. You can, once again, provide an impact before a customer becomes a customer and you build trust with them. Here's a couple ideas for you. Content marketing that actually solves a problem, not just sells your product. I definitely think you need product marketing and case studies and all sorts of content that convinces your buyer to buy your product, right? I don't think you need that. I just think in general, it should be like a 90-10, right? Where you're just giving, and people want to come to you. They want to work with you because you're so generous with your time and your resources and you help them already. They just naturally want to work with you because of that. And another mindset shift too is a buyer's process versus a sales process, right? Once again, switching the narrative around how do we think about it from the buyer's perspective versus just our sales process. Advertising that's helpful, right? Actually putting ads out there that help people. Most ads are very called direct response, right? Getting somebody to take action. Whereas what if your ads actually just help people? And super powerful way to do it. A sales experience that provides value. Unfortunately, I dread getting on a demo call because most of the time I feel like I'm being manipulated. There's very little value, and I have to grind my teeth to get through it because I want to get the product or I want to get the outcome down the road. But the process sucks in general. And that's no fault of salespeople. I think it's the systems that we've built to be extremely selfish for the company versus selfless and actually serving people in every part of the go-to-market process. Another thing here is frictionless buyer experience, right? So whether it's buying online through a PLG motion, right, self-service, or whether it's self-starter, just reducing the friction for the buyer. Other ways to reduce the friction is book a demo online, right? Or pricing online, or a self-service option, or product-led growth option. So all these things reduce friction. They create a better buying experience. Don't take my word for it. Go research online, all the stats that show all these things. Interesting stat that McKinsey put out last year was that 25% of B2B buyers were willing to spend up to $1 million online with no sales process. They're willing to go do an e-commerce experience, right? Go buy up to $1 million online, 25%, 1 in 4 people. So obviously 75% don't, they want to talk to a salesperson if they're going to spend that much money. But one in 4, that's crazy. Like I would have thought, maybe 25,000, maybe 50,000, maybe 100,000, but up to $1 million through an e-commerce self-service option. Mind blowing when I saw that. I was like, wow, that's crazy how, things are changing so much. But we're seeing it, right? Obviously the evolution of Amazon, with the evolution of so much like instant gratification and also so many options out there. Like people have a million options to solve a problem these days. There's a million platforms, not literally a million, but you know what I'm saying? Or they can continue to do the traditional way. There's all these different options out there. And so how do you reduce friction? How do you make the experience better? How do you give and build rapport, differentiate yourself before you ever even ultimately, before they even sign up as a customer?